The child's behavior may fall in line, but their heart doesn't. There's no buying from our children's part. Do you discipline your child? Do you think you should discipline your child? Do you think that you should yell or slap or spank or time out or punish, any sort of that thing? Because if you do, and you want to know why you shouldn't discipline your child, stay tuned. It's coming up in this video because we're reviewing chapter 1 of the book Out of Control by Dr. I'm going to butcher this, Shefali Tsabary, PhD. It's dope, it's wicked. We're going to review chapter 1, so it's coming up right now. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As always, if you're new to the channel, what's up? My name Ethan. Whoop, whoop. I'm a single dad to Lincoln Love, 2.5 years old. We've been rolling, have been a single dad for quite some time. And today we're talking about discipline. And I recently picked up this book called Out of Control by Dr. Shefali Tsabary. I believe I gotta figure out what that name is because I'm butchering. I'm so sorry. If you ever watch this video, I'm sorry. She has done a lot of work on parenting that's mainly child psychology. She's a psychologist, PhD psychologist. She's been featured on Oprah. She's been featured like all of these different huge television, MindValley, all that kind of stuff. She's all about conscious parenting. And we're reviewing chapter 1, why discipline does not work. So I want to begin just by sharing that I began to kind of like discipline Lincoln. It was really weird. I'd punish him for when he'd hit or when he'd slap or when he'd do something and give him a little timeout, or I'd say like, oh, that's like, or I don't even know what, I'd take away his toys. I would just do crazy things like that. And there was a part of me that knew that didn't feel the best. Like it didn't feel good. I didn't feel good doing those things to my son, even raising my voice or yelling. I didn't feel good. And I'm sure that some of you guys can relate too. And so we're going to cover a little bit about that, and we're also going to talk about kind of like what we can begin to do otherwise, which I'm still learning about in that book, and I'd highly recommend the book to anyone. Where I want to begin, she says, chapter 1, why discipline doesn't work. She really talks about how the reward punishment system that most parents use says that it doesn't help the child develop their own self-discipline. It doesn't help them build the capacity to self-regulate. So if the parent is always hopping in and rewarding their child for good behavior, then the child is always going to depend on the parent for rewarding them when their behavior is good. They're always going to be looking outside of themselves, extrinsically motivated outside of themselves to be motivated by what's out here. Oh, I did this, so I deserve, I get something, I get a candy, I get a reward, I get love, I get attention, instead of being intrinsically directed, is what she goes to explain. Meaning that if we allow the child to experience natural consequences, they begin to learn and trust themselves and figure it out internally instead of depending on the good-bad reward, the reward system that parents typically use in parenting. And this good-bad punishment reward system is kind of like a prisoner and a warden, she goes on to describe it as. Is like either the warden is the parent and the prisoner is the child, so the parent is always the warden trying to control the prisoner's behavior, the child's behavior. So it's like you're always trying to control your little, like your son, your daughter, you're trying to make sure that whatever they do is good and then it's awesome and it's this, and whenever they're outside of that, whenever you lose control, you'll punish them, you say bad, you yell at them, you take stuff away, you threaten them, you smack, you do whatever the case might be, and when they're doing really good, you reward them like crazy. That develops and undercuts the child's ability to self-regulate, as well as the child's ability to self-direct themselves. That's her whole philosophy there. As well, it's like when you were a kid, how did it feel for you to be punished? How did it feel for you to, let's say, you got an F on your report card or you failed a test? How did it feel to get grounded for a week after that? That punishment is so unrelated to this behavior. It's so unrelated to failing. So I'm gonna get grounded for a week because I got an F. Well, that doesn't help me actually learn how to do better in school. What that does is just punish me and tells me that I'm stupid, tells me that I'm not enough, tells me that I'm all of these things because I got an F. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I know that in my life, like, I hated being spanked. I hated having my stuff taken away. I hated all of that stuff. And what she goes on to describe is that all parents do. Like, all parents as children hated that. But yet they find themselves still doing that now because they don't know any different. And when, let's say when your kid is doing something that is out of your control, that's doing something crazy, you just react and you go back to when you were 4, you go back to when you were 5, you go back to when you were 12 years old and being punished, because that's all that you know. All that you know is to yell, all that you know is to spank, all that you know is to punish or threaten or take things away. But in the end, does it ever really solve the children's issue? No. And there was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little part of our last chapter. It says that the child's behavior may fall in line, but their heart doesn't. There's no buying from our children's part. Because if we're just threatening and taking away all our kids' stuff in order to correct their behavior, we're not looking at what is actually causing the problem in the first place. So like, what's causing your child to act that way, to hit, to maybe yell, to maybe scream, or to fail a school class? Like, what's going on underneath the surface that she doesn't know how to deal with that's causing her to do that? Is it peer pressure? Is she being bullied? Is there things that you don't know about? But here you are punishing the child, taking stuff away, grounding the child, yelling at this simple behavior that's happening. But really there's all these problems underneath the surface that you're not even looking at. And so what she talks about is, if discipline worked, the child wouldn't do it. And I've seen this everywhere. I've seen it all over the place. Is that it doesn't work. It didn't work with me. Did it work with you? Like I said, maybe it does work eventually. Maybe that does, but the child's heart doesn't fall into place. Like, was your heart there? When you got punished, was your heart there? No. You didn't love your parents. No, you hated them. You resented them. You wanted them gone. You probably even expressed that at some points, right? And so that's what she's all about. She's all about connecting with the child. And allowing natural consequences to unfold is what I'm beginning to learn. A natural consequence is like, for example, I did this with my son the other day. It's funny how many things I try to control in his life. I try to control what he does, how he talks, everything. So he was filling up a glass of water, and there's a part of me that began speaking, being like, hey Lincoln, don't fill it up too full. That's me trying to control his actions and control the situations that he doesn't spill water all over the ground. And so what she encourages, she says, zip your lips, let him do it. If he spills water, he gets to clean it up, and that's the natural consequence of that. And eventually he learns not to spill the water, which he spilled the water the first time, he cleaned it up himself, and the next time he didn't spill the water. Because I let him feel the pain of the consequence of him overflowing and spilling up water and having to clean it up. But if I would have cut him off there, I'd have to do it every single time. Or if I would have cleaned up the mess for him because I didn't want him to do it, he would have just kept on filling up and spilling it. So she says to let the natural consequences take over instead. So if your child hits, like my son hit, he would hit all the time. And so I used to yell at him. I used to grab him and hold him. I used to take him and time out him. But what I started doing instead is okay, I thought what's the natural consequence if my son hits me? What does that mean? Well, the natural consequence is I don't want to play with him anymore. I don't want to be in his space if someone hits me. That hurts. So what do? If he hits me, I look at him kind of oh, and sorry. I walk away and I'm saying, I'm not going to play with you if you hit. And you can see in his eyes, something's clicking. And slowly he stopped hitting. That was an issue that I struggled with for so long. Was that he would just hit and go slap and spit. It's whenever he does that now, I just do the natural consequence. And she says, looking at the natural consequence instead of the discipline. Because if I just hit my son, if I spanked him, if I told him, that's not correcting his behavior because he's just going to keep doing it. I see it all the time with kids. Let the natural consequence unfold. And she says too that discipline doesn't work as well because there's an idea, if you think you have to discipline your child, you must hold the belief that children are inherently undisciplined, but that's not true. They're very disciplined. They have the capacity to self-regulate, to self-direct themselves. I see it with Lincoln filling up the water. I see it with Lincoln being able to hold himself back now from hitting. It's all those kind of things. So she really goes on to say discipline doesn't work. If it did work, the child would just stop it immediately. And she says that when we discipline, we don't connect first. She always talks about connection then correction, not correction then connection. Connect with the child, be there with the child in that space, or take space before you have to connect. Connect, then correct. Don't just correct, because if you correct, you'll raise children who resent you. I resented my parents for a long time. I had to do a lot of forgiveness. I had to do a lot of that stuff because of the ways I was disciplined. Like I was punished, I was threatened, I was spanked, I was all this stuff, and it never felt good. I wanted to do it differently. So I just wanted to share this because I thought it was profound. I'd highly recommend the book to every single person on the planet, every single parent, because it blew my mind. Because it was like I said, it didn't feel good doing those things, and I knew inside my heart that it didn't feel good. And I knew that I would like yell and that I'd feel so sorry for yelling at them. But I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't know how to change, what else I could do until I started reading this book. And so I'll obviously share more when I learn more about the techniques, the tools, the tips, all that kind of stuff. I'll share those with you because I want you guys as well. We're all just on this journey learning. We're all just learning how to be better parents, and that's the truth. So thank you so much for watching this, and thank you for being here and wanting to be a better parent yourself. Like that's huge. That is huge. Like that is so huge. It makes my heart so happy that you're watching this still. And if you're new to the channel, I ask that you subscribe, support the channel. It means the world to me. It means the world to Lincoln, yet he can't express that. He's not sure what YouTube is. He doesn't know what this stuff. He just knows that there's a vlog. He just knows that there's a camera. He knows that he loves watching the videos, and he loves hearing from you guys because I do share your comments. I share you guys' stuff. So, and likewise, comment. What are your thoughts on discipline? I'd love to know. What do you feel about what was just explored in this video? Remember to like the video, and as always, so much love in my heart, sent to your heart. I love you. I care about you, and I want us all to be just amazing parents and raise the consciousness of everyone. So much love, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Peace.